Absolutely. Thanks for having me. All right, now that we're recording, everyone has to be extremely professional.
Best of luck.
Yeah, good luck with me here. All right, before I get started, I do this every single Ignite. Before we get into the topic that we're going to be talking about today, does anybody have any burning questions, whether they're working on a deal or, and obviously make sure it's something that you can talk about in front of other people, but does anyone have any questions or issues or things going on in their business or in a transaction currently that uh, they need answered or addressed, or is there anything going on that I can help with? I'm gonna take that as a no. All right, cool. All right,
One,
so
Trump, quick one.
yeah.
So, if you had a person come through an open house that was unwrapped, and all they left was an email, what would be a good follow up email to hit them with?
I would, if they left an email, I'm assuming you got their name. I would just shoot them an email and, inquire on what they thought about the property. Obviously, make sure when they were at the open house, did you confirm that they are working with an agent or not working with an agent?
Yes, they checked off on the sign in sheet that they
Okay.
do not have an agent.
Okay. Yeah, just double checking on that because no matter what, you also never want to kind of cross over those lines. And um, I've always also, of course, my dog's losing his mind. Um, I've always had to double check, and when you first finally get them on the phone or do that, still double check because even though some people um they make that comment like, "Ah, no, we're not really working with anybody." Sometimes they really are. So just kind of be aware of that. But I would just shoot him an email and say, "Hey, thanks for coming to our open house, et cetera, at 123 Main Street. What were your thoughts on the house? Do you have any feedback? Things like that." And just kind of get the conversation started and see where it takes you from there. So
Much appreciated.
you got it. All right. Well, let's kind of get into it here. I gotta click on this, I think. Yep. Oh, I just gotta click it. All right. First off, before I get started, I know on my screen, from what I can see the course overview slide. But do you guys also see yourself on the sidebar here as well? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Yes, you can see yourself or no. Yep. We're good. All right, cool. All right, excellent. So today we're talking about strengthening relationships, which overall slide deck wise, this is a pretty light class. It's not a huge amount of content to go over, but in my opinion, this is definitely one of the most important topics that we have. We're definitely going to be going over touch programs, which I don't know if Timmy knew this, and this is the reason why he asked me to talk to you guys today. I'm in the process with my coach revamping my touch system. So it's always good to kind of re-look at what you're doing touch wise, touch system wise. Back when I first started, it was the 33 touch, then it turned into the 36 touch, and now we're at 48 touch. So we can kind of get into that a little bit later, but this keeping your relationships and some of the largest teams, like if you ever get to either watch mega camp or go to mega camp or really go to any educational seminar that we have in KW or outside of that too. Some of the biggest teams out there, they're based off of their sphere. Like um, the primary source of lead generation is through their sphere and through their network and strengthening those relationships. So you can buy as many leads as you want to, but I know some of the biggest teams out there, they just do it by the relationships that they keep. So, all right. All right, and if you need to get your Ignite workbook, scan the QR code now. Looks like Jeff's already got it because he's doing something else. All right. Just going to minimize this a little bit here so I can, yeah, perfect. All right. So today's agenda, we're going to establish the mindset, identify the goals, devise the plan, and then we'll go over ahas and recap anything and answer any questions you guys may have. Know that growth comes from clarity, priorities, and focused action, and that is that's from Gary Keller in Shift. Um, as a brokerage, as a company, we talk about the Red Book, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, all the time. However, in my opinion, the very first book that you should be reading, and the best book that any agent should read, is Shift, because the MREA book gives us the models and the systems to run our business, but Shift as an agent outlines what we should be doing day in, day out. Buyer's market, seller's market, down market, whatever we're looking at, it really outlines the actions that you should be taking every single day as an agent. And in my opinion, that should be the first book you read. Red Book's great. Like, I've read that multiple times, cover to cover. If you look at mine, it's filled with notes and post-its and it looks pretty beat up. However, Shift is, my opinion, the very first book you should read, hands down. Just little throwing that out there for you. All right. Does this look familiar to everybody? Uh, this whole slide right here on how this entire thing works. So we're going to first, capture our lead, number one, whether it's through prospecting and marketing. Can anybody just real quick tell me what the difference between prospecting and marketing is?
Prospecting, basically, you're going out and finding stuff versus marketing, you're paying for stuff to come to you.
Exactly. Very well said. In easy terms, it's prospecting is a active lead generation, physically active or verbally active. Marketing is a little bit more passive, and yeah, you're going to pay for that. So, and sometimes you don't have to pay for that because social media and stuff like that is that too. But so then next thing we're going to go into is number two, your database. So once we get those leads, we're going to put them in our database. And they're going to usually start off as leads unless you already know them. If you already know them, you're already captured and you already should be in your database. So you're going to take your leads front and form those relationships, make contact with them, and then you're going to strengthen those relationships, which hopefully then into number three is we're going to be prepare the contacts for conversion and actually get them into a deal. And then we're going to repeat that whole cycle. Keep clicking the button. It's wrong one. All right. So we already kind of went through this. So leads, yes, et cetera, et cetera. Focus on building relationships and take market share. It's a top agent from a Red Talk back in 2018. And this is, again, like I said, this is a relationship business. Real estate is 100% relationship based. Whether you're an agent, an investor, a lender, title company, whatever your role is in real estate, hands down, this is a relationship business. Always has been, and most likely always will be. I know the AI is coming for everybody, but at the end of the day, it's us that they're coming to see. All right, so we're going to start off with our mindset. So today's conversation is tomorrow's transaction. Now, they got this little picture of a watering can here, and in my presenter notes, they talk about how you lay in your garden and all that insanity. But it's a good point. So, if you have a gardener, is there any gardeners here? I'm a big gardener. Anybody else? No, just me. Okay. Oh, Jeff's gardener. That's cool.
I'm in. Yeah, man.
Damn right. So we know that we go out to the garden every single year, and whether we're doing starts or we're planting direct sowing seeds or something like that, we have to get things started. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're harvesting that day or the next day. It's going to take time. We're going to go out there. We're going to weed the garden. We're going to have to water. We're going to have to maybe prune. There's a lot of different steps to it, but you're constantly tending to that garden. And it's the same kind of thing when you hear someone talking about farming an area, very similar thing. You're laying those seeds into the garden bed. That way, eventually it will sprout, grow a nice big plant. You'll get a harvest out of it, right? So think about your database as like your garden, and you got to nurture your garden so it grows and it, grows up big and strong and you get really good harvest out of it. Or maybe it's just flowers and you get to enjoy it. One of those things. Click this. There we go. And I got that and do this. There's lots of quote slides in this class today, apparently. Once you meet your new contacts, you either do business with them immediately or you don't. Either way, once you've met them, you put them in your database and stay in touch with them forever. Also from Shift. So lead follow up. We're going to start off with lead generation. However you're doing it. What's some really good examples of people? So you guys, what are you guys doing right now for lead generation? Are you uh is it a little bit more passive? Are you guys marketing and hoping people coming into you? Are you prospecting by being a TCPA compliant, very happy way and dialing folks? Are you door knocking? Are you sending out mailers? Pat, what are you doing these days for your lead gen?
So just contacting the sphere first and foremost. There's one of the homes I sold. I've been sending mailers in that neighborhood. I did it monthly right after it sold, but I'll probably reduce it to quarterly. Yeah, and just I go to the investment meetups, obviously.
Yep.
But that's pretty much it. Probably need to be doing more, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. And that's the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes you do what you can until you can add more into the mix and just kind of keep going with it. So once you finally capture those leads through your lead generation, you're going to do lead follow up and it's going to go into a transaction and you're going to add that conversion to it. I keep clicking the button. All right. So we're going to identify the goals. And of course, obviously, we're talking about working with your sphere primarily, strengthening the relationships of the contacts that you've made through lead generation. Now, whether that's someone that you've known for a really long time, someone you just met, maybe you have kids and you see them in the drop off line all the time, or maybe it's somebody that you constantly see getting coffee at the same coffee shop every single morning and you end up striking a conversation with them. Obviously they've got a really nice picture of this blatantly, stereotypical real estate agent saying hi and, happy congratulations to this family. But, the whole point of it is you have to identify the goal. Like, what's the goal of staying in touch with them? Is it simply because you like them and you want to stay in touch with them? Or is it more because you are looking to strengthen that relationship and convert them into a lead because you know that they're going to be selling soon or they're going to be buying soon? Or what is it? In my opinion, no matter what, whether or not you identify this person as, a hotter lead, whether they're, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days out from buying or selling, the goal, in my opinion, should be strengthening the relationship. Some of the biggest referrals I've gotten from someone in my sphere, they've never actually done any business with me. They bought their house before I got into real estate. They've stayed in that house the entire time. They have zero intention of ever leaving, but they're awesome and they know that I do my job extremely well and they want to help support me. So not all relationships are going to be transactional. And they may be transactional in the way like, hey, I appreciate you sending everybody to me over the years. I'd love to take you out and buy you dinner. Like you could call that transactional. I just call that good relationships. But in my opinion, don't always look at a relationship as I'm eventually going to sell this person a house. I'm going to help them buy a house or whatever it is. It might not necessarily be that thing. And for all of our investors, commercial friendly, and even our residential folks who are having flipping on the side or whatever it is, or just in general looking to develop their business and grow their contacts because they wanted to, work with a lender. Those contacts and those relationships might be other agents. They might be lenders. They might be title people. So don't always necessarily think that the other folks in our industry are not part of our sphere and should be nurtured in the same way. So last year, and I'm tracking kind of in that same direction. But last year, it was exactly 75% to the number. 75% of my volume came from agent to agent referral. Over the years, that has been one of my top um, ways that I nurture my sphere because I have a lot of agents in there. I have a lot of lenders in there. And at the end of the day, that's worked out for me really well because I have a tendency to go places people don't want to go and do things people don't necessarily want to do. And that's fine. That works for me. I mean, still sell residential, I do commercial, I do land, like Timmy said, but when you are working in a certain area that a lot of folks don't necessarily want to work in and you cultivate those relationships, it's amazing. Like he said, I'm licensed in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine. A good portion of my business goes back and forth referral wise in Massachusetts and Maine. I have a lot of folks that are down in Mass. I help them sell their house and they want to move up here. And the flip side of that too, I end up meeting a lot of agents down there. And if there's a property that's outside of my market in Massachusetts, I send it to them handed. That's nurturing the relationship in the same token that they might be selling their house down in Massachusetts and they say, hey, you got to call Sean, help you buy in Maine. Don't necessarily think that your sphere and your database is just those individuals that are not in real estate that are going to help buy and sell with you, but think about them as the next step to another deal. So, in my opinion, referrals are a huge portion of our business. So, staying top of mind. Now, when you guys are looking at this slide here, this is real estate mindshare positioning. Number of agents interviewed before choosing an agent. So we see here in both buyers and sellers, I think the primary motive for this slide is to show you that they really only interview one agent. It's very rare that you see somebody interviewing two agents or three agents or whatever. For the most part, they end up either knowing a real estate agent and they go in that direction, or they end up asking someone for a referral and that referral comes in and usually they get it. So if you are that agent that when they spring to mind, they think about real estate, you pop in their brain, it's a lock. As long as you don't mess it up. There's that part too. You might mess it up, but don't try to. So when it comes to this, you're going to end up having, sometimes you'll have to sit down with people and everything like that and explain to them. And maybe like your presentation's not there. Maybe they didn't think you were the agent that they thought they were, or that you were, excuse me. But as long as you're doing the right things and having the right conversations, you should have no problem. But you have to stay top of mind. And now forgive me because I cannot exactly remember the number. It used to be 7 times, and I think it's grown since then because everyone's got so much attention going in 80 million different directions. But it used to be that you'd have to remind somebody 7 times that you're in real estate before they actually remember that you're in real estate. And having those conversations early on is really important. When I first got started, I was just bartending at that time. And I had a lot of great contacts, a lot of investors, a lot of developers, a lot of contractors. And I didn't really put it out there that I was in real estate right out of the gate. It felt awkward to me. Only God knows where I would be if I didn't just start those conversations sooner. So it definitely hindered my first year and getting into my second year, not having those conversations. And my goal was I would like to be out of bartending and only in real estate within 2 years. I did it in 3. but that's because I basically didn't do any of those conversations the first year. So that's on me. So make sure you are having those conversations. I can't stress that enough. Kind of get out of your own head about it. I was really uncomfortable because I was bartender Sean. I was their buddy. I was their guy for that. Why would they all of a sudden jump from coming to see me to get a drink to, hey, I'm going to use him to sell my multifamily on York Beach, which ended up happening. But you got to kind of break out of that mindset. Leverage
That's like
mind.
exactly me right now.
Yeah.
That's you just basically told my story, but I'm in my first year. I'm just starting out, but I'm having a hard time. Like I'm that bartender, I'm that server. I've been taking care of people forever. And I've been having the conversation. I've been trying to talk to everybody, but I don't want to talk to everybody. But I have a lot of people at my disposal, but like you just said, like they look at me like I'm that bartender, you know,
Yeah.
would they reach out to me, not for a martini and to sell their house. Like I'm at that exact same place. I just got licensed, I haven't even done any deals yet. I just got licensed over the summer. I've been working full time still, but I've been stepping back slowly. But I'm in that right now. So it's nice to hear. That's been so cool about Ignite is hearing from all of you other guys and agents that have, how you got started and how things, worked out for other people. So I'm right where you were.
Yeah. And if I can give some advice on that too, it's, where there's nothing wrong with doing dual career. Like I said, I actually, when I first started, I had two full-time jobs and a part-time job. In my mind, well, actually, technically, I guess when I got into real estate, that also became a full-time, but I was a full-time bartender. I was full-time working in the cannabis industry, and I was also, now starting to sell real estate, right? So I was bartending in two different locations. One was seasonal, one was year-round. The I ended up dumping my year-round bartending position for the primary reason to grow my real estate business. So one thing, Candace, you should kind of think about is, where do I work? Am I able to have those conversations? So my full-time real estate gig, or for my full-time bartending gig, was at Gaslight. So I
Oh
worked,
yeah.
I worked at the pub, and
Yeah.
I worked I worked all four venues, but my
Mhm.
primary income source from that spot was the nightclub. Not
Yeah.
having real estate conversations with
Late
21,
nights. Yeah.
22
At
year old
midnight.
people
Yeah.
at 12, and
Yeah.
with like the house music going, like no
Uh-huh.
one's doing that,
Yeah. No.
My other bartending gig was at Lobster Rough in York.
Oh yeah.
Seasonal gig. I ended up working there for 4 years, and that was hands down my best source of lead gen. And to this
Oh
day,
yeah.
I still have those relationships from that spot. But that establishment's changed a little bit. It's a little bit more tourist friendly than it used to be. I don't know if anyone remembers Lobster Rough back in the day, but
Yeah.
it was primarily a local hangout, and it was a lot of
It was. Yeah.
contractors, a lot of builders. Yeah, and it was an amazing spot, and still is. But yeah, I kind of sat there and I had to say, all right, well, I'm not really making any real good contacts. This is not the direction I'm going into. And yeah, did I have to still work there for another like 6 months or so until like, I financially got myself in a position where like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to dump this particular gig. And I did some celebrity shifts around different other bars around Portsmouth, during the winter time just to kind of keep some extra income going on because the rough was really, it was open 6 months out of the year, but you were really only busy 4 months out of the year. And
Oh yeah. I
so,
know. I know that. I've been working on the
yeah,
coast for years.
yeah. So it's one of those things where, be mindful about where you're working too. So, just a little slice of tidbit there for you. But yeah, leverage your mind share for referral business, just always have those conversations. And the one thing about that too is, letting people know you're in real estate, but then not asking for business. It
Yeah.
sounds so salesy and cheesy.
I know.
And like and everything, I'm like, oh my God. And like, but like, I would actually like kind of almost make a joke out of it. And like, I would let people know I was in real estate. And I wouldn't always necessarily sit there and be like, oh, yeah. So, like, do you guys know anybody you're looking to buy or sell? I would bring up stories of sellers and buyers, things you can talk about, because obviously there's transactional things you can't talk about. But you can talk about certain, stories and things like that. So I would always bring up some random story about being, something that was going on in real estate with these folks. And they would just naturally ask, like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. Like, so how is it going? Oh, it's going great. Always looking for more people to help. So if you know anybody, let me know. But yeah, so far it's been great. This, that, whatever, and just kind of go from there. But make sure you're constantly having those conversations because again, you don't want to sound salesy because I hate salesy people. I shouldn't say that. I'm probably not allowed to say that, but it's true. Like when you can tell when someone's intent is just the dollar, you can sniff that out right away. It's
Mhm.
nothing's more of a big turnoff for me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
I would never go about it like that. But I mean, I wouldn't, when the conversation feels right. I mean, I'm not just talking because I deal with tons of people. Like yesterday was insane. I really didn't have time to have those conversations. But, the other night, Friday night, I did a private event so I have a sweet spot because I work in Massachusetts and I live in Kittery. So I work
yep.
for Tuscan Kitchen. I work for Tuscan Brands. I work at the Tuscan
Okay.
Sea Grill in Newburyport. I've worked in
Yeah.
Portsmouth, Salem, and Boston. So I'm very busy, but we had a birthday party for a local in Newburyport. It was his 70th birthday party for his wife. And, this guy comes to us all the time. And he took great care of us. And, at the end of the night, when he was paying the check, I said, hey, I really appreciate because he gave us a bunch of cash on top of the automatic rat. And I said, you've taken such good care of me tonight. And I have my nice business card I keep in my serving book. So I slipped out my card and I said, you've helped me really great care of me tonight. I said, I'd love if there's something I could do, love to be able to take care of you and help you out. And he looked at me, he goes, oh, okay. And he took it and put it in his wallet. So I
That's
mean, I've
great.
had the right opportunities. I've been putting myself out there. So I've been trying, and it's nice because I'm trying to target my niche of people that live in other parts of New England and the United States that want to move to the seacoast. So I'm trying to reach those people, and that's when I start targeting my advertising. That's where I'm gonna shift. I'm focused on my sphere, and I'm gonna target my neighborhood too. But I want to reach people that want to move here.
Absolutely. No, I mean that's the best way to do it is just, kind of get over some of those fears and have the conversation. So good for you for doing that. All right. So we're gonna get a little bit into touch plans. Uh Before I continue on, does anybody else have any other questions? Anything kind of popping in their brain, something that they want to chat about or anything like that? All right, sounds good. Fair enough. All right. So communicating with your database. So there's 19 to connect and 36 to convert, and then one to submit. So in this slide, we'll kind of go over what's in here, and then I'll kind of touch base on some other stuff too. But so for 19 to connect, you have 4 touches that are quarterly phone calls. You also have 12 touches that are a monthly email, a newsletter, a market report, a video. 2 touches that should be promotional direct mail, such as a magnet calendar, those printed ad marketing things that you see you get in the mail from a real estate agent that's got like, it's got the Red Sox schedule on there, it's got the Pats schedule on there, or it's got something local. Again, I really like Brandon Elsmore, who lives in. I live in South Berwick, Maine. He lives in South Berwick. He does a really good job marketing to the area. He's primarily a residential agent, and every single year at the be like, and I think he sends it out like maybe midsummer or something like that. I can't remember exactly when he sends it out, but it's got to do with like all like the local calendar stuff. So it's got like the school stuff. It's got, the holidays, it's got everything in there. It's got, Strawberry Festival. It's got all these different local community things scheduled in there, which is kind of something I thought was really unique because most people just, automatically click and send you out a Sox or a Pat schedule or a Bruin schedule or something like that. So I always thought that was pretty cool. Then it's 36 touches to convert. So 4 touches on your telephone calls, your 26 touches bi-weekly email offering some type of information of value to the consumer, 2 touches events, get-togethers, parties, 4 touches promotional direct mail such as a magnet calendar, like blah blah blah, what we just talked. So what I want to kind of chat about real quick is, and like I said, I'm revamping my touch system with my coach right now. It's something we've been working on for a couple weeks now, a few weeks now, but we're going with the 48 touch. So the 48 touch, and in my opinion, you might as well make it 50, but whatever. So that way, you're having some kind of communication with them roughly every week outside of the 2 weeks you're going to go on vacation. So for those 48, we already have the 4 calls. All right. So your 4 quarterly calls. Then you have 4 events. Now, this doesn't necessarily need to be an event that you throw. So right now, and to be honest with you, the easiest ones are the ones that you don't actually throw. You kind of piggyback off an event. So like right now, for instance, it's fair season. Awesome. I was just at Freiburg the other day. I'm going down to Topsfield next week. So, something you could do is say, hey, you send it out to your entire sphere. Hey, would love to see you at the Topsfield Fair. I don't know if you're going to be there, but I'll meet you at the cider stand next to Kittyland or whatever it is. I'll meet you there, and I'm buying donuts, cider donuts and hot cider for all my people from 1 to 2. So stop by and say hi. If you don't want a donut, at least stop by and say hi. Even if you get a handful of people, that's awesome. The primary goal is the communication, not necessarily the event. So don't necessarily do something like that and 2 or 3 people only showed up. The whole point is the touch, is staying in communication. You invited them to something. It gives you a reason to give them a call. It gives you a reason to shoot them a text. So don't necessarily think like, oh my God, I got to set up 4 client events every year. You don't need to do that. Find some kind of cool, fun way to make it easy for yourself. Piggyback off something else. I was trying to think of somebody that I saw, trying to think of their name, and it's escaping me, but they set up a booth at one of our local events here in town at the Strawberry Festival, just handing out stuff. Hey, I'll be down there all day. Come on down and see me. They didn't set anything up. They just purchased the booth. They donated. They got their name highlighted into as a sponsor and et cetera, et cetera. And they were just there kind of having conversations, like handing out whoopie pies and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. Um, so those are your 4 events. So 4 quarterly calls, 4 events, and then 4 direct mail. Now, this doesn't necessarily need to be doesn't necessarily need to be like a market update or something like that. What this should be is personal. So I would have it like, send them cards, send them a letter, something like that. So right out of the gate, you have birthday. That's 1. Always ask their birthday. Who doesn't like getting a birthday card? And I know we say that constantly all the time and all the education we do, but it's kind of true. I mean, most of the time I open it up and I'm like, oh, that's nice. They send me a card and it goes right into recycling. I'm an asshole like that, but that's the way it kind of goes. So, but if you've done some business with them before, they bought a house with you, send them a home anniversary card. I still do it. We're talking about getting away from it, but I used to do Thanksgiving cards, which sometimes can get a little tough. That's like kind of early into the holiday season. But even at Thanksgiving, you're starting to see everyone sending like Christmas and holiday cards with like their 2.5 family and everything like that on the card and everything like that. So sometimes you get lost in the sauce. So I always stayed away from anything after Thanksgiving, so Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, I always kind of stayed away from it because you're just flooded and you get lost in the sauce. But Thanksgiving, I always thought was just early enough, and I would send it basically the first week of November. Um, that's always a good idea. Uh, if you're a big football fan, I always thought it was a cool idea. I mean, it's kind of hard when the Pats aren't in it, but Super Bowl cards, I always thought was a good idea. But obviously, we haven't had the Pats in it for a while, so that's made it depressing to do. Um, just kind of throwing that out there. But find some sort of thing that you like to do. Hey, it's National Chicken Day. Don't forget to go support your local chicken guy. Whatever works for you. But send 4 pieces of direct mail. Then you're gonna send 12 text messages each. 12 personal, 12 business related. Got to keep it that way. Then you also need to send 12 emails. So I always try to mix it up, kind of do it, split in that way. So 16 and 16 or something like that, or not 16. Yeah, 16, 16. So, sometimes it's more, I'm going to do half, emails, half text messages. I like text messages a little bit easier. I feel like you get a better open rate with those. Everybody knows that most email marketing communications only get 20 to 30% at best, but text messages way better. So send 12 text messages that's business related and 12 text messages that's personal. It's got to be something that you're talking to them about. So if it's, if you're, and make sure you're doing it in a way that makes sense for that client, for that person. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to send, a client of mine that has a fear of heights, like, hey, did you see they've got some coupons going on over at Skydive New England? Let's go check that out. That sounds like a cool idea. Like, what are you doing next Thursday? Don't do that. Like, make sure you're being mindful of who you're communicating with. And then in the business ones, make sure you're having those conversations. Hey, I've got this listing. It happens to be in your neighborhood. What did you think of the marketing? What did you think of this? Think of something to have a conversation with them about. And then in the 12, and then the emails, same thing, send a monthly market update to them, send them, especially if you think they're going to be converting soon or they're thinking about selling soon, send them stuff about their market, their neighborhood, recently sold, recently, new listings, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you're communicating that stuff too. Make sure you ask for business. I still struggle with it to this day. It's always awkward for me to be like, so who do you know that's looking to buy and sell and invest in real estate? It's awful. But every now you gotta say it. Just be like, hey, I've got, my goals this year is to help 25 families. My goals this year to hit or help 50 families. Can you help me with my goal? Like, who do you know and who do you know that I should know? You got to make sure you're having the conversation.
Something like, just chime in for a sec. Like, I learned this from
Yeah.
one of my old bosses, Fred Fordsley. You probably remember him from Shipyard. So
Yeah.
he used to always say, don't be afraid to ask somebody for a favor. And that's kind of how I've just over the course of my career or whatever, that's something I've done and it generally works.
My God, that's such a good point too. I appreciate you bringing that up because especially somebody who you're trying to build some rapport with too, asking them for a favor is going to immediately make them trust you. They're coming to me. They're not they're not asking me for something in a weird way. Like, they're just asking for a favor. Like, why would they ask me for a favor if they didn't already think I could handle that or help them in a certain way? That's a really good point, Jeff. I appreciate that. All right, continuing on. All right, craft the message. Use 6 connection questions. Include a make offer for immediate response. So we're talking about, make sure when you're having these conversations with people, whether it's through text, whether it's phone call, email, whatever it is, like make sure you are making the point that you're trying to get across to people, and make sure you're asking them to like have some sort of action to it. So if you're sending an email, make sure that there's some sort of action that they can take. If you're doing a text message, have some sort of action they can take, especially if it's like business related. When I first got started, I would send things out to people. I used to do a lot of like Facebook direct messaging and stuff like that. But actually, Jeff, did I ever send you one? I probably did. I feel like you would have been someone I probably sent one to.
Maybe, probably, I don't know. Like it's been a hot minute.
I would
So
when I first got to it, I started to, like, through Facebook. I had like this. It was terrible. It was really bad. But it was like a small paragraph basically being like, "Hey, it's been forever since we chatted. Like, I'm in real estate now. Who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate?" And I like copied and pasted to like absolutely everybody. It was terrible. But somehow I got a couple pieces of business out of it. But um yeah, just making sure that one, the message is correct, and two, you're asking them to do something. So give them something to do. And then like coming in here and sitting down and actually developing your plan. Like I said, I'm working with my coach right now on developing my plan. And we've already been working on it for 2, 3 weeks now. And it's probably gonna take like another like 2 more weeks before I'm really satisfied in the way, like, okay, this is a really good plan for 2026. I know this is gonna be able to touch everybody in the correct way. I know that I'm actually gonna be doing this, you know, because a huge portion of your touch plan is active. You need to physically do it. There's a lot of things that you can kind of sub out, have a VA help you and make sure, like, okay, here's the template for the regular, just, monthly market update for here and here and here, right? And help me just make sure we're getting this sent out to the right people. They can help you with that. But a lot of the text messages, a lot of the phone calls, a lot of the person to person time, like, that's physical, it's active, you got to do it. So you need to make sure you're doing it. And we all struggle with it, except for Adam Dow. Adam Dow says he absolutely loves lead generation. I don't know how accurate that really is, but he says it's true. But you know, for everybody else in the world, it's not always the most favorite thing you want to do. Especially, you had a hard weekend, you know, whatever happened in life, it just, life kind of sucks at the moment, and you got to wake up the next day and start making calls and be happy, guy. Things are great. It's not always like it's not always the easiest thing to do, but you got to be consistent. Consistency is key. Repetition, repetition, repetition. And again, I'll go back to the same thing that you hear from every motivational speaker or coach or educational person here at KW. Like, literally everybody says it. If you go to the gym once, or you decide you want to get in shape and you do some push-ups on day one, it's gonna suck. But then you go back and you do it again. Day two, also gonna suck. But unless you're consistent with it, it's never going to get easier. You're never going to see any results. So you just got to get up every day and do the thing. Tim's got a really good sound bite, and I should probably find it too, but it's like this one guy, it's like an automated message. It's like, talking about doing the thing is not doing the thing. Saying you're going to do the thing is not doing the thing. Thinking about doing the thing is not doing the thing. And it's so true, because like you can sit there and think about it and talk about it and whatever about it, but unless you're actually doing it, nothing's going to change. So make sure you're doing it. So when you're sitting there and you're actually going over your touch plan and you're mapping out your year, obviously there's going to be certain things that you're going to have to plug into throughout the year, because you don't necessarily know your 2 events that you're going to see somebody at, in the fall, or before the holidays or whatever. When you're sitting there going over that now, you might not necessarily know that. You won't know what the market changes are going to be. You don't know if there's going to be a huge legislative change that you want to notify everybody about. So you're going to have to bob and weave throughout the year. But when you're sitting down there and you're mapping out what you're going to do, make it attainable. And yeah, again, it's work. It's a 4-letter word, man. Like, that's the way it is. So yeah, you still have to do things that you might not always want to do that day, but as long as you're consistent with it, you will see results. You know, if you, like I said, if you do push-ups one day a week or once every 2 weeks or once a month, not much is going to happen other than the next day life's going to suck and you're not going to want to pick up your coffee. So just be consistent with it. Smart plans for all of our friends here using Command. Smart plans are a really good way to remind you what to do. You know, sometimes you can kind of plug them in and, you know, have things a little bit more automated, but for the most part, smart plans are a way to make sure that you are doing what you are supposed to be doing. Fun fact, if you don't open Command and look at those reminders, you're not going to do it. It's not going to help you. It's not going to all of a sudden call you and say, hey, Jeff, you didn't make your goddamn phone calls today. You have to physically go in there and do it. So again, you need to be present in your business. You need to actually do the thing to do the thing. But also this is a really good way to remind yourself. So if you're good about going into Command every day, going through your tasks, okay, cool. I've got 19 people that I need to call today. I've got, you know, 15 people I need to text message and this and that, whatever. Like go through it. And you don't necessarily need to invent all your own smart plans. There's people who like to create their own smart plans for their, you know, for their business, but there's a lot of them that are already built in here and people have shared. Some are in the system, some other agents have created and shared in there. They're usually pretty good. So you don't necessarily have to do it. Just kind of type in what you're looking for and it's usually right there. But again, you know, the smart plans are there to remind you but to do all these things. But if you don't do these things, nothing's going to happen. All right, we're at ahas. We're kind of cruising through this. At this moment in time, does anyone have any questions, any comments, any ahas or thoughts in general? All right. We got our success system, so our 10 conversations, 10 added, etc. So, and then we're gonna go through this. The do not, you know, do not call us. Has everybody signed up for this, by the way? So actually, just quick, because I think what do we have? We have 3 of you guys on. So out of the 3 of you, who outside of your sphere, so you already know them. They already said it's okay for you to call them, hopefully, unless you had some sort of issue. But outside of that, who is kind of cold calling or circle prospecting or something like that? Who's actually calling people that they don't actually know out of the 3 of you? Just raise your hand
I
or
am.
whatever. You are? Okay. Jeff
Yeah.
is. Pat, you calling people you don't know? Okay. Candace, what about you?
I'm sorry. I was texting my boss is texting me trying to get me to come into work today and I'm not supposed to be there. I'm so sorry. What were you asking?
That's okay. No worries. Been there. I get it. We're talking about the do not call list and calling people that we don't know. Are you, as part of your lead generation, are you cold calling anybody or calling people that are not in your sphere that you don't know?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. I was gonna go the mailer route first. I have some cool door hanging things that I custom ordered for
Yep.
my neighborhood to put my business card in. So I was gonna use those. And
Okay.
I think it was a few classes ago, one of them, the guy, was it Mark? I remember Jeff. He was like, I send out like 2,200 mailers a month, something crazy like that. Like he has this whole system set up. He's got like
Marcus
the
Captain.
machine that, yeah, he had the machine that like puts them in the envelope and sends them out.
Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna. I mean, I'm not gonna do that right out the gate, but once I'm at where
No,
I'm at
man.
and I'm
Like,
ready to really just pay for the marketing and all that stuff, that I was gonna try to do something like that as opposed
so
to
yeah,
just making
Marcus's
random phone
system.
calls.
Yeah, Marcus's system is a well-oiled machine at this point
Yeah,
in
it was
time.
so impressive.
And like he puts out so much mail. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't really need to do the follow-up, but he's also got it at such a level where like his price per piece of mail is ridiculously low. So
Yeah.
you know, and I do the same thing. I send out mailers to like my tight knit market here. You know, I'm licensed, like my coverage area is Southern Maine, Seacoast, New Hampshire, North Shore, Mass. It's a pretty big
Yeah,
area.
that's what I would like to
But
be doing ultimately.
yeah, and so and it's worked really great, but as time and my life has kind of changed over the handful of years, um, the logistics sometimes get a little harder for me to take some of the further deals. So like when I go back down to Mass or something like that, you know, going down and like I'm listing a condo in Danvers right now. I'm gearing up for it to go to market. You know, that's an hour from where I live. It's just kind of back and forth and stuff like that. So like me, I'm being a lot more purposeful about directly marketing towards, you know, my tight-knit market here in Southern Maine. So I'm sending out mailers and stuff like that. Kind of similar piece of mail that Marcus sends out. It's a little bit different, but it's the same thing. The difference that, you know, and again, we can always ask Marcus, and I'm sure he does some stuff like this too. But I don't think he's calling as that many people over time. But what I do is I send them a letter, and I'm very specific about who I'm sending letters to. I don't just broadcast it across the entire town, but I send letters to targeted, you know, and they've had to have that home for at least 5 years, things like that. I will send them that letter, and then 2 weeks later, as long as I can find their phone number and, you know, skip trace it in one way, fashion, or another, I will call them and ask them if they got that piece of mail and what they thought. So where I'm going with all of this, and sounds like Jeff's doing it. Um, Jeff, have you set up your account with TCPA?
I did not. I did not know that was something I needed to do. I've just been my
Yeah.
stuff's pretty pre-scrubbed that I've been using, so I haven't really worried about it.
Yep. So like are you what are you using for a system? Are you using like a dialer or something like that?
Land voice. So all those, it's already pre-scrubbed all the phone numbers that are on there. So
Cool. Yep. Um, so when it comes to stuff like that, you can use those some platforms are really good about it, some are not. I've used a handful of dialers over the years. I've used Mojo, I've used Vulcan, I've used all the random one-offs that have come off. I've tried them all. Some are really good about updating that list, some are not. So, but no matter what they're telling us that we should be doing, and I set up an account, it literally takes 15-20 minutes to do. You go on here, there's like a little I think they have the resource section right down here on the bottom of the slide, but you just Google TCPA, it'll come up, you set up an account. um Everyone in the brokerage should have their own account to double check and make sure. I have what I do is um every now and then I have my VA run the numbers that I'm dialing. So like out of all the people that I send mailers to, right? I then have that list and I've skipped trace. Okay, cool. I have their numbers. Perfect. Then you know, I've used Mojo for this and stuff like that. All right, cool. Out of all the people that I have in this list, these folks are on the do not call list. Take them out. Now I have this one list of folks that I constantly, you know, give a call to and stuff like that. I always have my VA just kind of confirm what Mojo has already told me is that they are on the do not call list. But sometimes those platforms don't always catch up and the fines are pretty heavy. So, and as you can see right here, it's basically a $43,000 fine. That sucks. So, one, I would always go into TCPA, start your own account, and that way you are confirming, you know, and especially if you have like something that's not in a dialer, you can put their stuff in there, but it's also if you don't have a dialer and you're just getting phone numbers somehow, this is a really good way to make sure you're staying in compliance because if the fine comes, the brokerage does not pay that fine, you pay that fine. And you know, all of a sudden paying a $43,000 fine really sucks. So make sure you guys are double checking that stuff, but it's very important. And then here, get help with commandanswers.com, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I mean, like KW University has a ton of stuff in there that you can go through and check and use. Um, there's, we always say stand on the shoulders of giants. There's always somebody that's done this before, like use their roadmap to success, et cetera, et cetera. But it's true. Like if there's other people out there that are doing this and doing this at a high level and it's working for them, like why reinvent the wheel? Just copy what they're doing and you can have that success as well. So all that stuff is out there in Connect. You just got to go out and look for it for whatever you need. I engage every conversation in the spirit of contribution, and people are happy to be in a relationship with me. That's just a little mantra for yourself. We can celebrate success, but at this moment in time, this is like the time that I really like to get into and see what you guys are doing with your sphere, what you're doing for lead generation to add to your sphere. And this is a good time to kind of bring up questions, things that you guys have been thinking about. Even if it sounds like something you don't want to talk about here, feel free to shoot me a message. I'll put my information in the chat. We did have something in here at one point. So, yeah, Route 1 in Mass sucks, Pat. I'm not going to disagree with you on that at all. Yeah. But here, I will put my contact information in the chat just in case anybody needs it. If you have a burning oh crap, that's just my name. So that's my number and my email. But for right now, what are we all working on? Who's got a touch system already up and running? Where's everybody at in their business? Who's actively doing deals? Who's just kind of getting started? Candace, I know you were nice enough to share that you haven't gotten your first deal yet. So hopefully we're right around the corner with that. I know Pat's done a couple of deals. Jeff, I know you just kind of started yourself only a few months ago. How things been going for you?
In the parking lot with like 10 people. It's frustrating, but it's like I'm used to being, like we came from the same world. I used to be able to just go out and I could go hit 50 accounts in one day. Like you just can't do that here. So it's like I'm getting impatient with but it's also somebody's journey. So it's like I have to remember that it's going to take as long as they need it to. But like I have 3 people in pre-qualification right now that somehow won't get they just won't pull the trigger and get pre-qualified. So I don't know how to help them with that.
Yeah.
I have a listing coming at some point in the next month, but again, just tracking people down. It's like they're selling, but like they're not like they don't need to move. They're just going to move in with in-laws, so it's different. So they're just taking their time. And then I've got a couple referrals that I'm waiting to go through, and then I have a couple people moving up Q1. So it's just I'm in a waiting state, just waiting for everybody to figure shit out. I'm just trying to be there and be helpful, but not be overbearing.
Yeah, no, I totally get it because that's especially when you have like those buyers that won't get pre-qualified or anything like that. Like that,
It's so frustrating.
It's so frustrating. It's like
Like, what are
smacking
you
your head
waiting
against
for?
the table. Yeah, and and don't these people need servicing too, right? They need
Yeah,
help.
100%.
But at the end of the day, don't stay top of mind, stay in the conversation with them. But so here, I guess here's my question for you: are they asking you to go see properties at this time?
Not yet. So that's fine. Like
Okay, all right.
that's when it gets to that point, it's gonna be like, all right, you're signing this thing, you're getting this little thing done, and double talk. Like I'm not doing this.
Yeah, because the one thing that I always have, I mean, and I've got some repeat investors who like they usually figure out the financing and stuff like that. Like I'm not too worried about them. But I've had a lot of first time home buyers. I've had a lot of, second home buyers. Like they're like, yeah, we're not really gonna do this. Whatever. Like, can we just go see this property? No. Like, and now, especially nowadays, like we're not showing property without a buyer's agency agreement.
That's
Like,
illegal, right?
and yeah, well, not legal, but
Well,
it's with
technically, yeah,
we're not supposed to be doing that.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, too, like one, we're not doing that, but two, like even if I've got a signed agreement, we don't see property without an approval letter because I have no idea what you can buy. I don't even know if you can buy that house. You might not be able
yep,
to. And I've
yep.
had those clients before where they've got a house, they are looking to go up to that next step up house. Like they've had their great first time home buyer house. It's great, great starter house. Now they're looking they're making a little bit more money. They're going up here. They're doing this. And
Yeah.
they think that they can make that escalated move. But the reality is they had such a really good year the year before that they didn't really account for the fact that they're going to have to pay taxes. Like I had a business owner, great guy, does pretty well for himself, but he all of a sudden got into a new business where he was not paying quarterly taxes, like estimated taxes, and he got whacked with a huge tax bill and didn't think he knew about that. Like he was it was just kind of like, oh crap, I didn't really think about this. And he didn't really have the money at the time to just pay the bill. So he went on a payment plan. That affected his buying ability greatly.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah,
oh, and like as agents, like I run into agents with this issue all the time. They're like, they get money in their hot hand and they're like, sweet, I'm gonna go out and buy a white SUV. This is gonna be awesome. Next thing you know, they're like, oh shit, I owe 30 grand in taxes. That's great. Okay.
yeah.
And so yeah, like next thing you know, like those guys that you think are gonna be able to buy can't. So for me, and like I've had to make that a hard, fast rule. We don't go look at houses without an approval, period. And when you first get started, especially back when, you know, when I first got started pre-COVID, when pretty much, you could go out there and, see a house and okay, cool. Yeah, like, all right, let's get an approval letter done real quick. Yeah, you should be all set. Like I was kind of willy-nilly with it, and then I started wasting a lot of time with people who just really couldn't buy the house, and that sucks. So yeah, it's good that you make sure you're kind of prudent about that and having those conversations and kind of setting those guidelines that they have to adhere to. So um but that's good. No, I mean it's one of those things where you have to kind of start someplace. Are you Jeff, are you on a team or are you a solo agent?
I'm on a team. I'm with Luana.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm assuming is she doing having you do open houses and stuff like that?
Yep. Yeah, I've done
All
a
right,
few.
good, perfect. Yeah,
Once the kids' soccer schedule's done, it'll be a little bit easier with some time constraints. But yeah,
I get that to my core. I never thought I would be. I both my girls. I coach softball. Like they both play softball in the spring, and usually like the fall is like the easy kind of time. The weather's nice, whatever. But they've both gotten into cheer, and I've never in my life thought I'd become a cheer dad. Like it's real life. Like
yep.
I over the weekend. I was in Bath on Saturday and then came back down and then we went up to Gorham the next day. And then like, yeah, it's real life. So I sympathize with that for sure. So um Pat, what do you got going on? How are you? How are things going with you?
So, like, you kind of know how I'm off and on with the construction job.
Yep.
I've been on a layoff for like 6 weeks or something, but I'm about to go back. I've done four. I've had my license for like a year. I've done 4 deals. Um, doing lead gen, not really finding anything. I have like one person who's kind of it's a guy that used to be in my Army Reserve unit. He's getting transferred back up here. He's been down in Virginia. He wants to buy, but doesn't answer his phone and stuff like that. But it's like I'm trying to help you, but you're not helping yourself. But yeah, so nothing really going on right now. Just trying to think of other ways to lead gen.
All right, cool. Yeah, and that's just like one of those things like, this is um this is the time to kind of sit down and really map out what you can do. And I know, like, I especially know it's hard for you because, like, the you're on a job, then you're off a job, on a job, off a job, and I grew up with a bunch of guys from the pipe fitters union, and it's one of those things where like they're on, they're off, they're on, they're off, and like they live that lifestyle, and so it can be difficult to try to have some sort of consistency. But setting a plan for yourself now for 2026 and trying to implement it before 2026 starts, because like Timmy says, like we're 90 days out, right? So we're almost at that 90-day mark before the new year. So starting to map that stuff out now. One thing that I highly suggest, if Pat, I believe you've gone to a business planning clinic. Candace or Jeff, have you guys gone to one yet? I know we've had a couple recently.
But I'm planning on trying to get to this one. Obviously I've run a business before, but this is a little different. So
Yeah.
I'm planning on going to the one on the 23rd of October.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's one of those. So how I got brought into KW, for anybody who actually knows Pete Metch and Justin Kilcourse, all three of us were living on our boats down in Badgers Island Marina. Um, Pete had grabbed me in the parking lot, asked me if I was interested in investing in real estate. And I was, at that time, I had my Mass license, I was getting my New Hampshire license, but I was primarily looking to invest and stuff like that. And he kind of brought me in. But what actually, and I tell everybody that when I found out about Pi Day was the reason I joined the brokerage so I could get Pi. That's what I tell everybody. And it's, there's some truth to that. Um, but what really sold me on it was business planning clinic. So Pete brought me into a business planning clinic, and I actually sat there and heard what everybody else was doing in the room. I heard what they were explaining to me on what we're supposed to be doing and how to actually map out our year. And I was blown away. So especially this time right now, this is the best time to go to a business planning clinic. Go to the one in Portsmouth. Go, if you can't make that one, go to the one in York in December. I highly recommend it. If you like Anthony's Pizza, they do buy pizza at the one in York, but it's in December, so you're already kind of behind. But I still go to that one anyway for pizza. Um, just throwing that out there. But business planning clinic and actually sitting down and going through all the models and what you're supposed to be doing, hands down, I highly recommend it, especially if you guys are just really getting your touch systems going. Tap into Luana and like what she's doing for her lead gen and how she's runs her touch program and everything like that. And make sure you're getting that value too. But yeah, I mean, I highly recommend going to a business planning clinic and making sure that you guys are actually, setting yourself up for success for the upcoming year. So, but at this time, this is kind of what I've got. So if anybody has any questions, any things they want to talk about, feel free to chat about it here, or feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, whatever works for you guys. But before I let everybody go, does anybody else have any questions or
I
any
got a
burning
quick one.
thoughts?
It's
Yeah,
a it's an ethical one, right? So is this
yeah,
ethical or
sure.
not? So I have my kids go to a private school. I have a list of like 200 parents, full information, email, phone number, yada yada, workplace if they were with like whatever they want to put in. There's nothing in the handbook or like the rules of the school that like I can't use that. It doesn't say anywhere that this is not for solicitation. Please do not reach out to people for whatever. It's just at my fingertips, and I've been like really struggling. Like, do I use this? like,
Fair
it's like
enough.
oh, like I mean, my kid's only going to be there for one more year, but I also don't want to be that parent who's like, oh wow, this guy's cringy. Like he reached out through the school shit. Like,
Yeah.
so like, I don't
No,
know.
I
Like,
I get that.
because all
Um,
those people are going to be buying houses pretty soon because they have young kids who are growing. So it's like that is
right.
like an absolute pipeline.
So what I would probably do in this particular case is, even if there's no there's no guidelines or any or rules prohibiting you doing that. Um, because we've had like spouses of agents in our market center using the agent list to direct market towards the agents for their service. And like it's whatever. See it. It's okay. It's like it's not like anyone's getting hurt by it. Is it kind of annoying, a little weird? Yeah, sometimes. I would probably double check with the school to make sure that that's not going to cause any wrinkles with you and your kid and the school and all that stuff, even if there's nothing prohibiting it. Um,
I think this is
another,
well, I'll just throw it out for like this is kind of what I've started to think about doing is like just the people that like I start to see like so now like I have connections with a lot of people at drop off, right? So like I'll just reach out like, hey, this is
yeah,
so and so's daughter or so and so's dad in case you guys ever want to play date, and I send it from my KW address. So it's like I'm kind of putting it out there that I'm an agent, but it's not like in their
it-
face. They'll see it come from
yeah,
Keller Williams Real Estate.
yeah. I do the same thing with a lot of that stuff. Like, I like so when I first got into real estate and like, I mean Poppy was like super little at this point, but and I started doing some of that stuff with like, Sully and everything like that, I guess still too at that point. But I haven't done it in a long time. But when the kids would say like, oh, I want to have a play date with so and so, and they need to like we want you to talk to their dad or their mom or whatever, I would just give my kid a business card and I'd be like, give this to your friend, have them give it to their parents, and just have them call me and ask for a play date. Like, let's just do that. So like, I would do that kind of stuff and just see what would come of it. Um,
Send my kid to school with a stack of business, just
yeah,
like
yeah. Hey, you want to have a play date? Call my dad. Check it out. But yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, you don't want to end up being that person. So I totally get it. I don't necessarily think there's anything ethically wrong with it. You might end up running into some issues with some parents, like not happy that you're reaching out to them.
Well, there's like some
What?
KW agents that are also there too. So it's like I've already identified them. I'm like, I'm gonna leave them alone.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's exact. Like those mailers that I was talking about earlier that I send out to people. Like there's agents and KW agents that are on that list. That when we first put that list together, I was going through it, and I was like going through it with my VA, and I was like, yeah, we can get rid of that contact. And she's like, but like this seems like a really good location. Like this is a good property and blah blah. They're like they make the criteria. I'm like, yeah, but they're an agent. I'm like, I'm not sending them that. And she's like, ah, good point. Out. So so yeah, I mean, I would probably before you start doing that, I would probably just kind of like, hey, I know I don't see any rules, but is this going to cause any issues if I, send out a mail or I send something out or whatever? Um, one thing that would probably be really good is to obviously double check those phone numbers to make sure that they're not on the do not call list, obviously, and make sure you're not violating that stuff. Because even if your kids go to the same school, that doesn't give you permission to contact them that way. You know what I mean? And you haven't actually had a conversation with them that way. Um, but I would say doing things at that school as a sponsor definitely helps out. Like like I was saying before, I coach my youngest daughter's softball team, and I sponsor the league every year. And like when I sponsor the league, I get this like giant, it's huge. It's a 4 foot by 8 foot banner. It is massive and it's right there on the field. So I do that stuff. I'll also, I've done things where I've included my card with certain things that they hand out at school as a sponsor, like not just like some random, like I'm sending my kid with a bag of cookies with a business card in it, like
Yeah.
weird shit like that. So, you know what I mean? Like, or, my coach is just telling me, she gave me the good idea. Cause like I'm new to the cheer thing. I didn't realize how intense it was,
It's
like I grew up
aggressive.
playing. Yeah, man, it's super
It's-
aggressive. I grew up playing hockey and like when none of my kids wanted to play hockey, my dad was kind of like aggravated. He's like, so like they're not gonna play. I'm like, yeah, like you want that life from me? Like I remember getting up at 4 a.m. for practice. And he's like, yeah, I want you to experience that. And I'm getting my fill right now. But especially now that we're once we start getting into the colder weather, I mean, we got a solid Indian summer here going, but once we start getting that colder weather, what she used to do was hand warmers and brand the hand warmers, like get a sticker, put it
Yeah.
on the hand warmers and hand it out. So what I would say is for something like that, um, email, if you got their email addresses, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with an email, just kind of shooting it out there. And, or especially if you have some sort of reason to send it to them that's not kind of in that kind of cringy-ish way,
Yeah,
like,
because like we're planning like a cul-de-sac movie night where it's like, oh, my kids wanted to invite your kid.
yeah, I
Even though they
would, I
didn't,
would
I'm gonna
shoot,
invite them for them.
I would shoot an email like, hey, we're
Yeah.
doing this kind of a night here. I know, hopefully this is, it's okay that I'm sending you an email, but I know like like our kids go to the same school and I just want to make sure I'm letting everybody know we're doing this and, it's going to be a great time and you're sending it from your KW email, or whatever. So, those are the kind of things. I don't think there's anything necessarily ethically wrong with it. Um, but yeah, no matter what, you're gonna have some of those parents if you decide to go that route. I'm assuming you'll definitely have some of those parents that are gonna be like, this dude's sending me some stuff. But like you're gonna get that out in the world anyway, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Oh yeah,
yeah, I mean,
you should hear some of the responses I get from some of the mailers I've sent already. They're hilarious. You
oh,
probably had them. It's like, what?
oh
Why are you so
yeah,
angry
they're
about
like,
this? Like, good lord,
why are
just throw it
you
out.
sending me mail? Dude, just throw it in the trash like I
Just
do
chuck
with
it.
everybody else's stuff too. Like,
Uh,
why are
oh
you
man,
took time out of your day to yell at me, just so you know.
yeah, living
Who's
rent
who's
free.
winning here? Yeah.
Yeah,
So but yeah, no, it's a good question because like, you always don't necessarily always want to cross those lines, but the one thing too is and I do it. I actually ended up getting a deal out of it, and I never really thought that I wasn't really thinking about it at the time. But I have a KW Land hat that I wear every now and then, and one of the parents during drop off. So like in South Berwick, I park at the library. We walk through the path, and I drop Sully off at school, and um this guy every now and then he was like, oh, hey, what's up? And we see each other all the time. And he actually stopped me one day and he goes, hey, he's like, you're an agent, right? I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And he's like, oh, he's like, I've actually we've been thinking of buying land to build. He's like, we know that we can't, it's going to be a little bit before we can get the building up or anything, but we want to secure the land now. He's like, so we want to start finding that right parcel. And that's exactly what happened. Like I ended up working with him. We found him a spot and like it just closed not long ago, but like, yeah, it's one of those things that it worked out. So where I was going with this is wearing like, I've never worn a name tag. I'm never gonna wear a name tag. Like that's just not
no,
me, and that's fine. But I am not shy about wearing like, a KW Coastal shirt or a KW sweatshirt or
well,
something
I've been a
like
walking
that.
billboard for 20 years.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. When we
No
were in
problem
beer, I
with
mean, like I had like my entire wardrobe was some sort of branded thing to whatever, to the brewery. So
that.
I did that for the longest time. So I have no problem with that. So, wearing branded material that people can easily read, I highly recommend it because especially if they just see you, yeah, that's right, Pat. So like it's one of those things that when people see it all the time, they naturally ask you questions about it. So I would suggest, especially if you do the drop off, and do you do the drop off where like you pull up and you kick the kid out of the car, or do you have to like walk him in?
We walk them in. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because like um when my oldest daughter, when we would drop her off, like I was doing like I had just gotten to real estate and I was dropping her off on like in the line, but I was like pulling around and like, yeah, I'm like, all right, get out of the car. I'm like, you're fine. I'm like, yep, bye. And as I realized, I'm like, yeah, I should just be walking them in, like put my stuff on and walk them in. And you'd be surprised how like the brand recognition like happens pretty quick. People realize who you are, and it kind of goes in that direction. So
Yeah.
it's again, really good question. And like I said, I don't think it's necessarily like an ethics thing, but it could be just kind of a, you know,
It's funny because like I've asked,
socially.
you're probably like the sixth or seventh, probably more than that. Because I've been like debating and I'm just sitting on this like database. I'm like, man. And everybody's kind of had like a little bit of a different viewpoint on it. So it's been helpful. But
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure there's agents out there that are like, yeah, man, hit that list hard. Like, be relentless.
found it.
Just go right at them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, there's something to be said for that too. And maybe like for me, I'm not as an extra. I'm more introverted than extroverted, surprisingly. Like when, like, I'm like an old lawnmower. Like, it's gonna take you a handful of pulls to get me talking. But once I do, like I won't shut up. Like I'll just keep going and going and going. But like but it's one of those things where like, yeah, like maybe I wouldn't do that, but like I can probably, and I won't call them out, but I can list like at least 10 agents out of our brokerage that if you ask them that question, they're like, hit it hard, be relentless, like send them everything. And I know you've had those people say that, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
like, well,
yeah,
all right.
yeah. And like, you know
Jesus.
what? And like that works for them. For me, it'd be a situation where I'm like, I would be strategic about it. I wouldn't necessarily just go blunt force trauma and hit them hard and stuff like that. But I would try to be mindful of the situation because you also don't want to get that reputation of that dude because you'll find some clients out of that way that like they're like they want that guy, who's going to be aggressive, he's going to go out there, he's going to find the business, he's going to find that if he's aggressive finding the business this way, like what's he going to be like going to find me a property? He's going to be aggressive going to find me that property, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And like that's the type of agent they want. There's some people out there that don't necessarily want that. They want to be a little bit more relaxed, and they want someone who's their buddy or whatever. And even though I do my job, I do it well, and I make sure I go out there and I give them as many opportunities as possible. Like I'm never going to be that guy who's going to jam who I am down their throats, but there's a lot of agents out there that'll do that, and good for them because like they'll get good business out of it too. So but
Cool. Thank you.
yeah, you got it. Yeah, didn't expect that one. That was a good one though. All right, anybody else? All right. Sue, you're on here. You got anything? Any tidbits for everybody?
Hi guys, how are you?
Hey, Sue.
Good.
Hi. I agree wholeheartedly with everything said, not to just sound like, hey, I'll say something, but I definitely agree. I've talked to a lot of people over the years who just can't relate to some agents, not that name, they never brought up names or whatever, but kind of the in your face, here's the sandwich I had on Monday, like here's what I did all weekend, and it's the same stuff we're all doing. People get really turned off, tuned out, whatever you want to say, with kind of that, like give them something of value, and nobody's perfect at it. I'm not, certainly. My dogs do something stupid and I post it, and, it has nothing to do with real estate. But I think people appreciate being more well-rounded. Like, what is the rest of your life like, to an extent? But I think it's great advice but just I guess my only little tidbit is provide something of value and not just 12 times a day, what you had for lunch, what you had for dinner. Because we see that, we all do.
Yep.
And customers, clients just don't like, it's not what they're looking for.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It's true. Yeah, we see, especially like, social media wise, people put out a bunch of stuff, and like that's cool. Like, because social media works for a lot of people. And it's funny. I don't know. Sue, do you know Ilya Rasner out of Mass?
Yes. Yep. I do.
So it's really funny because he was a year ahead of me. I went to high school with Ilya, and he and I were buddies in high school. and
wow,
like that, and that we've come like full circle with all this and stuff. But yeah, he's now he and I talk about this all the time because he had a stretch there when he did the videos of himself basically just explaining the lore, the language of real estate.
Mhm.
Here's this and here's that. And he was like, I was like, "Ah, did you get good traction with that?" He's like, kinda. He's like, I get more traction with like me going through the properties and stuff like that. But he's
Mm.
on this kick right now where he's going to all these different, restaurants and like sub shops. And, for anybody who knows the North Shore, like North Shore beef sandwich is a thing.
Oh, if
And
you don't know what a freeway is, stay out of
yeah,
Massachusetts. Okay.
yeah. Like I was talking to some friends who are from like Maine originally, and when I brought Hunter down to to watch the fights in Lowell, and I was like, yeah, he had a hell of a weekend. I was like, he had his first he got to see the fights for the first time, and he got his first three-way. And like the look that they gave me was just
Oh
like
my God, it's hysterical.
mortified. And I was like, right, you have no idea what I just said to you. So
Right. And they're
yeah,
like, what? Wait, what? What are you talking
yeah.
about? I
So
just did
and it's
that the other day. There's an Boston area agent who is a little out of the box, and some people might be a little like, oh, that's a little too far, but he's hysterical and it's his
yeah,
thing. He gets away with it. And he compared he had two pictures up. One on the left was a perfectly done three-way roast beef sandwich. And the one on the right was like this little old pathetic little roll with like one piece of like dark brown roast beef in it. And he said, "Happy anniversary to my loving wife. Life with you is on the left. Life with anybody else would be on the right." And it was just this funny thing. So I had to respond. I'm like, hey, it's kind of ironic to say happy anniversary and suggesting a three-way, but you do you. And that thing went on forever, and
yeah,
it was just
yeah.
funny. So there's funny. Some people can get away with that stuff. Like if I ever posted that, people would show up at my doorway like, "Are you okay? Like what's wrong with you?"
Right, yeah.
So I think it's knowing what you can get away with just in terms of humor and your audience. But it was hysterical. It went on for days. His
That's
wife
good. I like
chimed
that.
in. She's like, "I'm up for anything, but the one on the left looks much better." You know,
Yeah.
it was cute.
That's good. That's good. Oh man.
So know your audience, and then you know how you can kind of go from there.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys. If anybody else has anything else, just throw it in. But if not, we'll catch you on the next one. And like I said, my phone number, my email is in the chat. If you guys need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out. And see you on the other side.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mr.
so
Cody.
much.
Sure.